Welcome to another episode of Subconscious Realms. I'm your host, General Lee. And for tonight, we are joined by one of our incredible returning guests. It's been far too long since I last spoke with you, Nate. Far too long. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the host and creator of Reality Czars Podcast. Now then, Nate.
Hey, brother. Thank you so much for having me on.
Also, it is an honour, mate. It's been too long, though, mate. Too long. And I'm sorry about that.
It's all good, brother.
I guess we everything happens at the time it's meant to. So better late than never, as they say. And with us today, we've got a good friend of mine and fellow podcaster, Dave Petrella. Dave.
Hey, General. Oh, yeah. Thanks for having me back, man. Nice to meet you.
Yes.
Nice to meet you, man. Dave, what's the name of your podcast, brother?
Well, I just have I say it's very informal, but I have a lot of content up there. It's just under my name. It's Dave Petrella. If you pull it up on YouTube, you'll see my channel. And I basically just talk about whatever I want, man. That's the only way I'm going to be happy is if I have free reign to talk about my own opinions, you know. But I am an astrologer. I do tropical astrology. I've also read the Bible 3 times. I also would say I'm a Christian in addition. So we're going to be getting into some interesting stuff, man. It's going to be a good conversation.
Oh,
I like it.
I will say one thing, Nate. The level of research that Dave is at it's up there. I'm talking elite level. It's every show we've done has just been mind blowing to me. I mean, it doesn't take much to blow my mind, but seriously, it's impressive, Dave. Where the way he does it is so unique, and he does go deep. Which that's what it's all about, isn't it? He's getting that truth. And Dave likes to flip the lid. He is brilliant at what he does.
I'm just starting to get to the point where I can incorporate astrology into like some of my beliefs or thoughts or things, because like the way I was raised, man, I was raised like Pentecostal, hardcore, right-wing Zionist Christian, and like astrology was from the devil. So like I've always never looked at astrology. I've never even like read my horoscope, things like that. But then also, I always thought it was like just something that silly white girls did. We're like obsessed with that kind of shit. So I was like, nah, I'm not like the whole thought of me being born on a specific date, and that had something to do with like where the stars line up. Like I just never got that, and it never made any sense to me. But I will say that I think there is something to astrology as far as like, and I'm curious, Dave. You know a hell of a lot more about this than I do, and I'm also curious. What flavor Christian do you consider yourself? I'm a bad Christian myself. Like I believe in reincarnation. I got all kinds of weird stuff that I've got going on nowadays. So, yeah, this is going to be an interesting conversation, man. I'd want to hear how astrology and Christianity can exist in the same universe.
Oh, totally. And of course, you know, the show that me and General just got off of, that was really the entire topic of the show, is how they can how you can find astrology in the Bible. Now, when I teach things, I teach them on a multi-tier level, multi-tier system. So when I look at a literal interpretation for the story of Jesus, I actually do believe it did happen, literally, as it's stated. But there's about 5 or 6, or maybe up to 10 other meanings behind it. Some are astrotheological, which is just talking about the planets and stars. Some of them are anatomical, which is talking about references to the human body. For instance, you've got, I'll use the same example I just used because it's probably the best one. You've got Sarah and Abram from the Old Testament. Oh, that's cerebrum together.
Cerebrum,
The other one is the cherubim. The cherubim is also the cerebrum. And you've got the amygdala, Mary Magdalene. I mean, it goes on and on, literally over and over and over. So these things all come together, and I do believe in reincarnation. I believe in it actually fairly strongly. Yeah, I believe in the potential for it. Let me put it that way. I'm not saying everyone
Yeah.
does that or even wants that. I think a lot of it is where you want to end up on your own journey. You know, I'm not telling anyone what's best for them. That's between them and their creator, you know, whoever they believe that is.
Yeah.
But I do. I believe in Jesus Christ. Absolutely, I believe in him. I believe he was a divine and is a divine being and came here to help us and to teach us and to be our example. And one of the first examples I use for Christians that say, oh, astrology, and I get it, man, believe me. I mean, everything, the first person that I knew who was into astrology was a white girl, you know, and I'm not being racist. I'm just saying it was a teenage white girl. Yeah. So she, but here's the really point for me is that, you know, this is not your Miss Cleo horoscope newspaper thing, not your teenager fad thing. This was it's a hard, I mean, I consider it a hard science. It's based in mathematics and geometry. When I do birth charts, you know, which is the conditions in the sky when you're born that give us basically, you know, a lot of our personality traits and how we are when we take action and take inaction and stuff like that. When I do that, I'm looking at mathematics, man. I'm looking at numbers and angles. And I'm not reading a thing. And then based on what is said there, it's the same for everyone. You know, if you're 15 degrees into the sign, then you're right in the middle of the sign. You're going to be you're the strongest version of your sign you can be. If you're at the beginning of your sign, meaning like, for instance, if you say like Cancer, you know, Cancer starts June 21st, the summer solstice. Well, if you're born on the 21st, then you're actually, it's really about 50-50. You're about 50% Cancer, 50% Gemini. So it matters where in the month you are, and it actually will. So if someone says, "Oh, I'm a Gemini," but you're born on you're born on June 19th. Well, you're not really a full Gemini. You're not even close. So when you read your chart and it's like, okay, doesn't sound like me completely, then I say, well, get the other 50%. You got to get on the Cancer side. You know, stuff like this.
That's fascinating. So I must be half Leo then. I'm a Virgo, but I'm September 1st.
Oh, wow, man. Okay. Yeah, you're close. You're that's closer to I guess about a 75% Virgo, because you're about 25% into it. And the sign before, you know, I'd say I gave you 25% Leo, 75 Virgo. So when you read that, you know, incorporate Leo about a quarter of the time. That's for your active side, which is called your sun sign.
Interesting. Okay. Leo's
very
a fucking narcissist and psychos, and then like attention whores, and maybe that's 25% of me that like puts my face online and like thinks people want to hear what I have to say, and then
it's all right, mate. Nice one.
They want to what it is, Nate, is they want to either be the center of attention, or they want to disappear without telling anyone where they. If they're not interested or they're offended, they'll just like turn their back and leave. They won't even tell anyone anything. They won't say anything. They're just gone, man. Completely gone. So it goes either way.
Yeah, that does sound like me a little bit sometimes.
I love that.
I don't know enough about the Virgo stuff, so.
Well, Virgos, they're very data oriented, data driven. They're very good hosts. They have a lot of nerves. They get nervous about stuff a lot, generally speaking. Virgo's a stomach in the body, so you feel it oftentimes in the stomach. They usually really like food. They love eating. They're very warm, hospitable people. They're cheery. They're inclusive of others. They're social, but they're cautious too. You know, it's Virgo Virgo means the virgin basically. So they're careful about what they do. They want to make sure they feel comfortable before they commit to it.
That's interesting, man. I'm a weird fucking. I was a chef for 16 years. I love food. I love hosting people. I love I love having friends meet, and like I think that I'm pretty. I like people. I'm a people person, but I'm not nervous at all about anything. And I fucking
you like a Donald Trump
things.
You like a Donald Trump? Are you like?
Oh, I'm like a Donald Trump. Yeah, I guess so. Like a loudmouth jackass.
I'm only joking, mate. I'm only joking, sir.
Maybe a little bit. I'm very American. So.
I love you to bits, mate. You know that.
Yeah, I love you, buddy.
There's also you know, when people talk astrology, you're talking about your sun sign. So it's like, what sign are you? You're telling them your sun sign. which means where the sun was at the moment you were born, or the day you were born. But you've also, that's only 1/3 of the equation. And I don't think I've talked about this with general yet. I'm sure we will in the future. But the second third is called your moon sign. The moon sign, okay, the sun sign is your active principle. So when you take action and you do something, you do it as your sun sign. And each of these has a polarity as well. It gets fairly complicated. So if you're off balance or you're overly stressed or something, your sun sign is generally going to flip to the opposite of where it should be. And so you'll be, in your case, you'd be 75% Pisces and 25% Aquarius if it flips. If you're having a bad day and you feel off and you're like, man, I'm really missing the mark. So it's important to know that. And then the moon sign is called your reactive principle, or the inactive principle. And that's when you're reacting to something. It can be either positively or negatively. A reaction doesn't have to be negative, obviously. It can just be like someone's doing something nice for you and you're like, oh, thank you, and I'll just let you do it and I'm going to enjoy it. That's also a reaction. And then the third part is called your ascendant or rising sign. That's your personality. So if you don't know all three of those, you don't understand your chart. And I'm saying anyone.
Where I think where I'm challenged by these ideas is that I'm a firm individualist, and I definitely believe in I don't believe in fate. I don't believe in, but at the same time, I don't believe in fucking coincidence either. I'm a weirdo, I guess. I don't know. I have to figure that out, because I definitely believe in like freedom of choice sort of thing. But a lot of these sort of things, they tend to talk about like, this is what your personality is going to be like because you were born this time. And I am challenged by that. Is there, why am I wrong? Or
well, what I teach, Nate? I do teach free will as the top principle in the universe. So I never wanted to do astrology. It was actually given to me as a responsibility. Basically, do it scientifically. I'm not part of the New Age community, man. I'm a scientist. Not the best mathematician, but I know the basic stuff fairly well. But the thing is that you need to hear from a credible person, and that's the thing. Is that the person's got to be able to pivot. They've got to be able to address the questions, explain what's going on. So if something comes up and you're like, well, I'm not feeling that, that doesn't make sense. Well, then let's look at the opposite. First thing you do is look at the opposite sign. And then after that, you want to look at your ascendant node and all this stuff. But I'll tell you what, you go through your chart and, all of the planets are in different places throughout the year. And so your chart's very specific. When I say I'm saying your birth chart, which is your version of the zodiac when you're born. When the sun is moving across the year, every time it hits one of the points on your chart, whether it's like Venus or Mars or something like that, or your midheaven, which is where you get your glory in your chart and all this stuff. If you're paying attention, you're going to notice. Be like, wow, this is amazing. This every year at the same time, within about a 7-day bracket on either side of that day, it's like I'm experiencing exactly what is indicated in the chart, and you can see it every year come around like that. So like when I go through, it's called a square. A square is 90 degrees or 90 days before or after your birthday. When you hit the square, man, you're going to be rocked really hard. Really, it's like a roller coaster, and I see it coming, and I'm like, oh, man. I literally put my seatbelt on, and it happens every same time.
But do you create that because it's coming?
I did not. Before I knew astrology, I had those things happening to me at those times. So when I look back in my life, then I said, okay, now I get that. Now I actually get that. Why is it always this same time for me that this happens or this happens? And no, I totally get you, Nate. I totally get you. And I'm happy to answer any questions about it. I believe people, if people don't want to do it, that's totally fine. I mean, hell, I don't even really want to do it, but I believe fully it's in place. And if it's in place, it's something we should understand if we want to try to.
So what do you do to get prepared for that? Do you take the week off of work? Do you hold up?
If you can. No, you just, the best way I try to explain it, astrology is one of the tools that I try to provide to people. I have a lot of services. You can see it on my YouTube channel, the things that I do. I do a lot with Eastern medicine principles and spiritual guidance and everything. So what I want is what the best is for that person on their path. I don't want people to do astrology if they don't want it. I want people to be free of that, or even think they're free of that if that helps them more in their life. I'm not set on trying to convince someone, because I'll tell you what, when people are like, Dave, what's going on in the sky today? A lot of the time, I'm like, I don't know, I didn't check. Because you know what I'm doing? I'm laying in the sun, man, and I'm enjoying the nature, and I'm taking a walk, or I'm reading a nice book. I'm not thinking about that. But when it comes up and the topic comes up and someone wants to talk about it and I look, it's like, okay, yeah, that's what's going on right now. That's what's going on.
Do you look at things like the macro things too? Like, are there like eons and like ages? Like, are we in the age of Aquarius right now? Are we moving? Like, are there like bigger chunks than just year by year, like season by season? Because like people are talking about how like basically the world's going to hell in a handbasket, and like all the economies are falling, and we're pushing for war. Is this part of a bigger cycle that's happening right now that we're approaching? Do you look at things like that too?
Yeah, it's and we just covered this actually, about an hour ago too. The easiest way for me to explain it is that the first thing you have is the daily cycle, sunrise, sunset, 24-hour cycle every day. And then the next step up would be well, actually, technically, I didn't add this, but it would technically be the week. The week is the next like subset. The week is based on the 7 traditional planets. And if you haven't heard it before, Nate, I don't know if General's heard this before, it's a good time to say it. Sunday, well, that's the day of the sun. Monday is the day of the moon. You're going to see the words in there. Tuesday is Mars. And then you've got Wednesday is Mercury. Thursday is Thor or Jupiter. Jupiter. Friday is Freya's day, which is Venus. Saturday is Saturn's day. You can see the words in there. And then after that, what you've got is the month, which is based on the word moon. And then you've got the proper way to do that with the moon cycles is really about it's a 13-month calendar, with about 28 days per month cycle, which ends up giving you 364, puts you right at almost 365. And that's why some people use, a lot of natives, like native tribes and Chinese and stuff, they use the moon calendars because of that, because that is part of the system. And then after that, man, you've got so the months, and then of course you've got the year. The year is the next largest cycle, 12 months. And then after that, you've got what is called the Great Year, which is what you're referring to, which is the 12 ages, and each age is 2,160 years long. And that makes up the entire, what's called the Great Year, which is 25,920 years long. So the age of Pisces is a 2,160 year age, like a slice of the zodiac, if you will. And yeah, by all indications, we're in the transition period between Pisces and Aquarius. I think people have suggested it was 2012 we entered Aquarius, and based on kind of what I saw, I did a show with Chris Matthew over at Forbidden Knowledge News. I don't know.
Shout out to Chris. We love Chris.
Yeah, Chris is awesome. Okay, so me and him were talking about, and this is on my channel too, if people want to see it, under Dave Petrell on YouTube. But basically, we were talking about where I think we actually are in terms of that transition. Now, what happens is when you transition between large time chunks, it's a larger window. It's a larger like transition window. So you're going to be feeling the influence for a little bit longer period of time. And what I had suggested was that the Industrial Revolution is very Aquarius. That's not a Pisces thing, like at all. You're talking about mechanization and futurism and space flight and stuff like that, moving into all this technology and machines. That's like 100% Aquarius. So based on that, I think it's probably around the official start where Pisces is like forever gone. I would say 2175 at the latest, somewhere in there. But we're right in the middle, man. We're moving between them. And it's getting weirder and weirder every day with the AI stuff and all the technology upgrades. Is
Aquarius supposed to be good? Like, are we in for a decent 2,000 years as a species, or is it just this transition time that sucks ass? Or
what it is that everything in the physical world is dualistic. So it depends on which part you're looking at. Now, for people like us who are pursuing truth and trying to figure things out, this is a grand time. I mean, I'm excited, man. It's fantastic. All the crap is
I'm
going
having
into the
fun.
Oh, absolutely, man. So I feel like we're figuring stuff out. I think in the mainstream, they're having a really hard time right now because, like you're saying, you're suggesting, kind of the general backdrop for the age of Aquarius is not necessarily a great thing. It's indicating lack of movement, lack of kind of divine power because of mechanization takes that away from like the biological organism. When you have machine, it's lacking like a soul, like the human has. It can be very cold because Aquarius is the cold time of the year. It's a cold sign generally, but it's also the sign of like the humanitarian and progressivism and helping others and letting others do what they want to, what they believe in, and futurism and space flight and all that stuff. So it's a little bit of both. But what the most important part is for me is that it's where you're focusing. We each create, and that's what you're referring to, I think, before, Nate, is that it's where how we create our own reality. It's like if you don't want to incorporate something, for anyone, that we don't have to do it. If I want to say, some days I think I was happier not knowing astrology, but now it's become a responsibility because if ignorance is bliss sometimes. And again, I'm not trying to tell people what to think, but what I do want to say is that I don't know who people have heard astrology from before. I don't think there's a lot of people that teach it correctly, to be quite honest with you. I learned the principles from Santos Bonacci. He's my friend, back in 2015. I found some of his videos on YouTube. And then I went with it and I developed my own way of doing it that I found it to be the most applicable and helpful to people. So, it's a responsibility. And I don't think about it every day. If people want to do it, I'm happy to do it. But like I said, man, I'm happy just relaxing and having a drink, and just like talking to my friends and stuff, or watching a program. So it doesn't rule my life. And I always tell people, like, you know what, like, follow your heart, do what you know is right, make moral decisions, treat each other well, and you're going to be fine. Even if you don't know the cycle, or even if you don't believe in the cycle. And by the way, there's actually a lot of proof for the fact in terms of quantum realities and stuff like that, that we create our own reality. So like technically,
100% believe that.
Oh, yeah, man, definitely. Okay, well, check this out. So technically, and that's what's crazy about some of the stuff that I say and that I believe. I can believe contradictory things, and I'm okay with it because it depends on your perspective, it depends on your timeline, depends on your outlook, it depends what you believe in. But technically, according to the quantum theories and quantum fields, if you don't believe in astrology, then it doesn't exist for you in a lot of ways, And so,
dude, I have so many friends that are on here that argue for a flat Earth, and I have friends that will sit there and argue for a hollow Earth, and I have my friends that'll argue that we're on a globe, and I'm like, and this is a cop-out answer, but I tell them, I'm like, whatever you fucking believe it is, that's what I actually think it is.
Yeah, but everybody's got their own.
I mean, if you think that we're on a flat plane, then I think it is a fucking flat plane to you. And way you're going to see reality is going to reinforce that. And because, I mean, I don't know, we can talk about simulation theory if you want, but I mean, I think that you do make and manifest your reality. This is what you make it.
Exactly, mate. Exactly.
Yep, and I support.
We just had, it's all good. I was just gonna say we just had Sean Hibbler and David Weiss on, and so like, I'm gonna get shit from my listeners because I'm having too many flat earthers on, and then if I have somebody that I got a good buddy that's all into hollow earth, and as soon as like I have him on, then I have flat earthers get mad at me about that. And
oh my god, man, I think we got to stop doing this stuff as humans. It's like every time I'm in a conversation, I'm like, okay, that's cool. If that's what you believe, as long as people aren't like directly hurting each other, I'm pretty okay with it. I've heard most of the theories, and I have my own feelings about it, but like, I am interested in what's best for every individual, and it's definitely not what's best for me most of the time. It's a personal journey. I think you agree with that, right, General? Personal journey.
Definitely. We're all
unique
our own ways, yeah. Yeah.
Right. And we have to do it on our own time, and we have to do it when it's right for us.
Yeah. It's about our own, like, Dave, you couldn't say it any better, mate. It's, I guess, look at it like our own balance, our own what we believe in ourselves. Like, I respect what you believe in. You respect what I believe in. That's how it should be. You should be able to have a conversation without
Right,
it getting, getting heated. Yeah, get heated, but not an argument. It's a discussion. It's
Oh, yeah.
about
Or
respect
you can have
in
a
each other's
friendly
beliefs.
argument.
A
I
friendly
like
argument.
having
I
friendly
love that.
arguments.
Yeah.
Well, when I get into